Welcome back to Mission Stories, where real heroism meets jaw-dropping twists. Today's tale will leave you speechless. Imagine a quiet afternoon at the heavily fortified gates of Fort Vanguard Military Base, the sun beating down on razor wire and concrete barriers, when a modest woman in her late 50s, dressed in a simple gray coat, no makeup, hair pulled back plainly, approaches the checkpoint with calm confidence. The young corporal on duty, fresh out of training and full of his own importance, barely looks up from his clipboard as he barks, "ID and authorization, ma'am now," but when she hands over her card, he snorts without even scanning it, sneering, "This looks fake, lady, we get dozens of these every day. Step aside or I'll have you removed, you're holding up the line." She doesn't argue, doesn't raise her voice, just nods politely, steps to the side, pulls out an old flip phone, dials a single number, whispers a few words, and hangs up. The corporal laughs to his buddy in the booth. Another wannabe probably thinks she's VIP because she watched too many movies, but less than 3 minutes later, the radio crackles to life with urgent tones, red lights flash across the gate, and suddenly vehicles screech up, first one black SUV, then two more, then a convoy. Doors fly open and out step 7 towering figures in crisp dress uniforms dripping with stars, 4 Army generals, 2 Air Force, 1 Marine Corps legend, each one a household name in military circles. Battle hardened commanders who've led wars and shaped nations. They march straight to the woman, snap impeccable salutes, and the most senior one, General Harlanthorpe himself, voice thick with emotion, says, "Ma'am, forgive us, we had no idea you were coming unannounced. Please, allow us to escort you personally." The corporal's face drains of color as he realizes the woman he dismissed is none other than Dr. Elena Voss, the legendary covert strategist who, during the darkest days of classified operations in the shadows of 3 wars, personally saved the lives of every single one of these generals, pulling them from burning wreckage, decoding enemy plans that averted disasters, or testifying in secret sessions that kept their careers intact. Her clearance isn't on any standard database because it's buried in black files labeled Eternal Gratitude Level Omega. The generals surround her protectively, one placing a gentle hand on her shoulder while another turns to the trembling guard and says in a voice like thunder, "Corporal, you just refused entry to the woman who ensured we lived long enough to wear these stars. Consider this your last day on gate duty. Report to the provost marshal immediately." As the woman is ushered through with full honors, flags dipping in respect and troops lining the path snapping to attention without orders, the camera lingers on the corporal standing alone, head bowed in shame, learning the hardest lesson of service: never judge a book by its cover, because true power doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. It arrives quietly, waits patiently, and when it moves, the entire world snaps to attention. If this story of humility, hidden heroism, and instant karma moved you, smash that like button, subscribe for more untold military missions, hit the bell so you never miss an upload, and drop in the comments, have you ever witnessed or heard of someone underestimated who turned out to be extraordinary? Share below. We read everyone. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay proud, and remember, heroes walk among us every day. Until next time, this is Mission Stories, signing off, where the echoes of true heroism never fade. Last time we left off with Dr. Elena Voss, the shadowy legend whose quiet arrival at Fort Vanguard exposed a young corporal's costly mistake as 7 4-star generals descended to salute her like family, escorting her through gates that once barred her while the stunned guard faced the music. But the story doesn't end there, because what unfolded inside those walls that day would remind every soul on base why some legends are kept classified forever. As the convoy rolled toward the command center, General Harlanthorpe, still visibly shaken, turned to Elena in the lead vehicle and whispered, "Ma'am, we never thought we'd see you like this again. Not after what you did in '98, she smiled faintly, her eyes carrying the weight of decades, replying softly, "Some debts don't expire, Harlan, you boys made it home because someone had to stay behind." Flashbacks hit hard, grainy archival clips of black ops in hostile territories, a younger Elena decoding enemy transmissions under fire, dragging wounded soldiers including these very generals from ambushes that should have ended them all, her codename Spectre whispered only in the darkest briefings. Back in the present, the base commander, unaware at first, rushed out to greet the arrivals only to freeze when he saw who was flanked by the top brass. "Dr. Voss, we weren't notified," he stammered, but Thorpe cut in sharply, "She doesn't need notification, she is the notification." Inside the secure briefing room, the 7 generals formed a protective circle around her as classified screens flickered to life, revealing a fresh crisis, a sophisticated cyber intrusion attempt on the base's nuclear oversight systems, traced to an inside leak but with foreign fingerprints. Elena, calm as ever, took the chair at the head of the table without asking, her old clearance badge syncing instantly to grant level Omega access that made technicians gasp. "Show me the anomaly logs," she said, and within minutes her fingers flew across keyboards, tracing patterns no one else could see, patterns she'd taught these men to recognize years ago. The corporal from the gate. He was marched into an adjacent room for questioning, his arrogance crumbling as MP reports detailed his refusal to scan what turned out to be a ghost ID untraceable in standard systems but flagged as priority in black channels. General Voss, no, she never wore the star, but they called her that in private, looked up from the screen and said quietly, "The breach isn't random, it's personal, someone's targeting the old team." The room went silent as she revealed a name from the past, a former asset turned traitor who'd sworn revenge after Elena exposed his double-dealing in a mission that cost lives. Alarms blared softly now, not panic but precision, as she directed countermeasures that sealed the network in under 10 minutes, her voice steady while generals who once led armies now followed her lead without hesitation. One by one, they shared stories around the table, Thorpe recounting how she carried him 3 miles on a broken leg in the Hindu Kush, another admitting she talked him off a ledge during the aftermath of a lost squad. Tears welled in battle-hardened eyes as they realized this woman, dismissed at the gate as just another civilian, had been their guardian angel in shadows they could never fully repay. The traitor's digital trail led to a nearby safe house. Elena insisted on going with the response team, "Not for glory but closure. I started this chapter, I'll help close it." Hours later, as dawn broke over the base, the operation succeeded without a shot fired, the threat neutralized, and the corporal reassigned to permanent latrine duty with a dishonorable notation pending court-martial, his lesson etched forever: respect isn't earned by rank alone, but by recognizing it in others no matter how quietly it arrives. Dr. Voss declined any ceremony, simply asking for a quiet ride to the gate where it all began. As she stepped out, the same corporal now stripped of his post stood at attention, head bowed. She paused, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said gently, "Learn from this, son. Pride blinds us, but humility opens eyes." She walked away into the morning light, the 7 generals saluting from afar as troops lined the fence in silent tribute. If this continuation of hidden heroes, second chances, and the unbreakable bonds of service touched you, hit like, subscribe for more untold missions, ring the bell, and tell us in the comments, who's the unsung hero in your life who deserves more recognition. We read them all. Thank you for staying with us. Heroes don't always wear uniforms, but when they do, the world should stand at attention. This is Mission Stories. Until the next chapter. The channel that uncovers the hidden chapters of courage where ordinary appearances hide extraordinary lives. After Dr. Elena Voss walked away from Fort Vanguard under the salutes of 7 generals and the humbled gaze of a once arrogant corporal, the base never quite returned to normal. Rumors swirled through barracks and briefing rooms like classified smoke. She was the one who pulled Thorpe from that burning hell in 03, she cracked the codes that stopped a missile launch in the shadows of the Cold War's end. Her file doesn't exist because she's beyond files. And while Elena tried to fade back into quiet civilian life in a small town far from any fence line, fate, or perhaps unfinished business, had other plans. 6 months later, on a stormy evening at Joint Base Apex, a sprawling, ultra-secure facility housing experimental defense tech, a cryptic alert pinged across secure channels, an insider sabotage attempt on a next-generation stealth prototype, with evidence pointing to a mole who'd once crossed paths with the old Spectre team, the current commanding admiral, a no-nonsense woman named Rear Admiral Kira Lang, who had served under one of the generals Elena saved years ago, made the call no one expected. She dialed a number that hadn't been used in public since the turn of the century. On the other end, Elena answered simply, "I was wondering when you'd call." Within hours she was airborne on a blacked-out transport, arriving at Apex's outer perimeter just as thunder rolled, this time the gate guard, a seasoned Sargian,